Stupidity. There is no cure for stupidity. If you're stupid, you're stupid. Thank goodness most people have been misdiagnosed as stupid when really they're just ignorant. And there is a cure for ignorance. It's called an education. Got me my grade 3. Now, one of the biggest issues that I see with autism is people using it as an excuse to harm somebody. Or using it as an insult. Kind of being on the playground. And, well, those of us who are autistic or have Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, we all get treated like we're retards. We get called retarded quite often, as if calling us those names and being ignorant punks and bullies towards somebody who's different will magically make you right. And it just doesn't work that way. If you say 1,000 times that autistic people are prone to violence, you will still be wrong 1,000 times. Autistic people aren't prone to violence. Matter of fact, they're far less likely to get violent than the rest of y'all. However, that's not how it gets written down on paper, is it? It's kind of like, well, many other things. It comes down to bias. What bias do the people that you're speaking with hold? How many hospital staff hold a bias against homeless people? Just assume that when you go in there, you must be on drugs because you're homeless. Nearly every hospital in America. Now, we do have hospital chains, much like fast food chains, that are worse than the rest. Regional West hospitals, for example. They're nationwide, and they'll kill you nationwide. If you have a problem with one doctor at Regional West, you have a problem with all doctors at Regional West because of their policies. It doesn't mean that every doctor that's there wants to be a piece of crap. Matter of fact, due to the fact that their rules and protocols are different from what the law says, really puts a lot of them in a bind. Throughout my situation, there's been almost half a dozen autistic people that were killed under certain circumstances similar to mine by literally my same predators by name. Many of y'all are just, into generalization. Autistic people are this, autistic people are that, men are this, men are that. This is what all of these people and all of those people are interested in. Like the idea that all Asian people are into origami, or all black people play basketball. It's just ignorance. Now, for me, I get to have the distinction of looking very Jewish. I got Jew curls that grow faster than the rest of my hair. That's these right here. That hair grows faster than any of the rest of the hair on my head. Now, does that make me Jewish? No, it doesn't. See, there's Hebrew, which is the bloodline, and then there's Jewish, which is the religion, and then there's Israeli, which is the nationality. And most people don't try to make a distinction. Now, when it comes to autism, a lot of people just don't know how to handle us because they have the mistaken belief that we need to be handled, that we need to be talked down to like we're retarded, like we're idiots. And then there's the medications that they give you. And I'm not sure how many of y'all have had Tourette syndrome medications. You pretty well have to have Tourette syndrome for it, but the side effects of the medication included damaging your liver. When I was a kid, because I made funny noises, I had to take medications that I was required to take a liver function test every 2 weeks. That's pretty severe for something that's just a funny noise and doesn't harm anybody. Now, when it comes to autism, it's far worse. With Tourette syndrome, I make a funny noise, I can explain that. And before all the meth stuff really took over, people were at least somewhat understanding. But now there's so many people on meth that you see somebody twitch, you just assume that they're on meth. And then there's the part where I'm told that I need to fight for everybody else's rights. Well, I don't fight for anybody else's rights because you tell me I have to. I fight for their rights because they're humans, just like me, just like you. To pretend that somebody is less of a human, or not worth listening to, or not worth hearing because of their gender, because of their religion, because of their skin color, because of their orientation, is just horrible. As far as the education on autism goes, I posted up video after video after video. And what's the reaction that I get? People telling me that they know all about autism because they have a cousin in Cincinnati who's autistic. Or they know all about autism because they have a brother that they bullied their whole life. That doesn't mean you understand autism. For many of y'all, you don't understand what a wonderful gift it is. When I was in Chapel, Nebraska, Laura Nelson's got a son, right? He can't speak. And so people in his school, this is a small town in Nebraska, just wanted to assume that he was an idiot because he couldn't speak. Now there's some stuff that triggers him. When his mom, because he was getting triggered about once every week or two, his mom explained to them what it is that triggers him. So he started having an issue every day. Why is this? Because the teachers in small towns like that, you go, oh, they're adults, they're teachers, these are the people we're supposed to go to. No, they hold bias same as anyone else. So many people are so completely ignorant of autism that they put it into the same category as schizophrenia or dementia. It's not the same. A lot of people, because we're wired differently. That's not what you hear, though. When we say we're wired differently, what you think to yourself is, oh, your wires are crossed. Here's the difference, all right? A neurotypical brain is, well, it's like your Geo Metro. Sure, it's not a high-end sports car, but it gets you by. Being somebody who's autistic, it's a lot like having a Lamborghini. There's a lot more to it, a lot more complicated. It's a high-performance machine, but it's also, you get into a crash at 5 miles an hour in a Geo Metro, you're going to have a dent. You get into a crash at 5 miles an hour in your Lamborghini, and you're going to end up having to replace $100,000 worth of fiberglass. When you have a wiring harness that goes into a Geo Metro, it's not going to fit into a Lamborghini. You got a Lamborghini wiring harness, it's not going to fit in a Geo Metro. We're wired differently. Having our wires crossed would be like, all right, well, there's the two terminals on the battery, and one of them keeps jumping off and touching the other one and sparking. That's what you guys think autism is. It's our stuff isn't working right. No, it's absolutely working right. It's that you guys overwhelm us because you assume we're retarded. Just like you assume people with Down syndrome are retarded. Now, when I read that article saying that the second smartest man on the planet had Down syndrome, that actually did surprise me. I've known a lot of highly intelligent people with Down syndrome, some of them whose intelligence matches mine. But again, intelligence versus what you've learned. I mean, how do I explain that? I'm not interested in nuclear physics. I got an IQ of 172, but you ask me about nuclear physics, I'm going to tell you you need to get a hold of a professor in the nuclear sciences, or you need to get a hold of somebody in the industry who knows. I know a little bit about hard water. I know a little bit about soft water. I know a little bit about heavy water. But that doesn't mean that I'm qualified to run a nuclear power plant or disarm a nuclear missile. Now, ever since Natalie Bollinger got her brains blown out in Colorado, I've had to deal with a lot of nut jobs who think that because they saw something on TV or saw something on the news or saw something in a YouTube group that it must be true. And you get to see how my predators go through, and even though they're child molesters and rapists who are convicted, They want to play on the mentally ill thing, pretend that autism and Tourette syndrome are drug use and schizophrenia. They keep on pushing that. But here's the thing, and this is the thing that all of my paperwork does definitely show. When I tried to turn in the officers that I tried to turn in, who tried to help to frame me for a murder I didn't commit, and thank goodness they did actually catch the guy that did it. But look at this. 6 years later, it's still going on. 6 years later, I've had to move repeatedly. 6 years later, my predators are still using wives' tales about autism that were disproven in the 80s and 90s as an excuse to harm me. And they keep wanting to pretend that I'm somebody who can't talk and poops his pants and has to wear a football helmet. That seems to be the real pushy thing, ain't it? The real, hey, this is what we think of autistic people. And that's where the education comes in with you guys. We're not heard. Much like the situation with John Brown at Harper's Ferry, we need other people to speak for us, people who are not part of our group, and that is pathetic, because we need to be heard, not people who pretend to care. Alright, you know how we end these videos. Good to be with you. Thanks for coming. Get into trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.